We're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. We've got Robby Berthume in the house. He's the CEO and co-founder of Bullnbeard. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, bro.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
So what do you guys do? I saw your business partner.
Yeah. Well,
He's the beard, you're
we
the
try
wolf.
to stay a little mysterious, and that kind of happens. So it's actually interesting, sort of the story, and I feel like I have to rewind to give Bullnbeard context into sort of how it was born. But I started out at a young age. I was 14 and started building websites, and that turned into a digital agency and turned into coming out to LA at a young age, 2021. And suddenly it was top 20 in their 20s in LA Business Journal and all this success. And I remember driving around in the Beamer just, yeah, look at me, what is this? This is awesome. Yeah. But that was followed by definitely suffering, sort of on a personal side, being young, having a lot of money, and being sort of not used to what to expect when I was successful. And business partnership that certainly went awry in that phase of the company. Taught me a lot of lessons. So essentially after 10 years, I shut down that company. I spent some time in the agency world and started thinking about what's the next model? What do I want to do? Is it a digital agency or is it something a bit different? And ironically, I met my business partner after I started the Bullnbeard brand. So I was like, I like the strength of a bull, wisdom of a beard. It's alliterative. It sounds like an agency. I think this could work, And lo and behold, I was a director at an agency and kind of, again, charting the path. Do I want an equity seat there? Do I want to start something? And he's put it this way, probably about my dad's age. So he's a little bit older. So I came in and I was actually his boss and he's like, what's going on? I'm 25 at the time. But we got a chance to work together, which I think is really important because that really served as sort of an incubator, for our relationship. And we talked a lot about values and ethics and what we wanted out of life, more so than even sort of the business model because we both had experiences with business partnerships and that sort of thing. So we came in and said, you know what, we want to get equally yoked. We want to do this 50-50. We want to be on the same page. And then our first meeting, and we hadn't really put two to two together, but our first meeting, I was like, oh, you're the bull, you're the beard. And we're like, okay, we'll run with that. That makes sense. So Jason's a little more laid back and kind of the quiet guy, doesn't like the attention. I'm the guy that wants to be here looking at the camera, that kind of thing. But it's been a lot of fun. We're a little bit different in that we essentially do business-to-business matchmaking. So we really heavily focused on the agency world, ad agencies, PR agencies, connecting them with resources, mobile developers, if it's obscure digital projects, campaigns. And then it sort of expanded to working with founders, connecting them with viable resources, talent, tools, teams, that sort of thing. But not a recruiter model. Yeah. So it's really relationship based. We get to know you. We throw parties. We just try to avoid any sort of ulterior motive because if people like you, if people trust you, if you do well by them, then it pays off in the long run.
Well, I want to go back to, and I appreciate you for sharing that much context with us. I want to go back to specifically the part where you said you had a lot of success. You had a company you started at 14, lasted for 10 years, had success, and lost it all. I think that's got to have a huge lesson in that.
Certainly.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like when you made a lot of money?
Really hard.
How did it feel? And losing it all on the other end of what was the gift?
When I moved out to LA, I feel like my value sort of shifted a bit in the sense that, I think money gives you, it's a bit intoxicating, especially if you're not used to it, new money kind of thing. And
the old saying, money just sort of makes you more of who you are. It brings out more.
Yes.
Although I don't necessarily believe that's true 100%.
It brought out a little bit of, drinking my own Kool-Aid, a little bit of a cockiness, and I was younger, and and I think I also felt that I wanted to make up for lost time because I started so young, and I graduated high school early and college early, and it's just like, I want to travel and I want to do things, so I probably spent too much money at that point in my life, just kind of soaking it up. And I remember kind of, just driving down in the car and just thinking like, wow, this is surreal. Like, what happened? I'm in Beverly Hills, like just this business and all this stuff is happening. But I wasn't paying attention. I think I got complacent and I didn't have the wisdom. I didn't have the mentors in my life or anybody that really could sort of say, slow down or be careful with this aspect. And I wouldn't have listened to him either anyways because I was going to do my own thing because it had worked so well, I think, for me by that chance or by that time. I think when it all started to, really fall apart was I decided to move from LA and I was going to be able to run the agency and, do it from the East Coast. My business partner, ex-business partner was going to stay out here. And that's when things just began to crumble and eventually found stuff in our books and it was a disaster. So when that happened and really, the financial side was like, I thought I had this amount of money and now I don't. And there was crazy dynamics involved I don't want to get into just for his sake, but that was hard. But I feel like, that suffering was the biggest blessing. Just in the sense that I certainly learned a lot more through that period than any other period. The problem was, how do you define success? Was I no longer successful? And my expectations had gotten here, and so I think I downsized. I moved into a townhome for a while, and but I was looking at it, like, oh, this is a garage, but I needed to go through that. I needed to really be grateful and appreciate, what I have, and it did that. And I think it also taught me, in the future, be patient, especially being in tech, and things are moving so quickly that you can be, in terms of growth, you want to just speed things up.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's always good. I think you should be really conscious about what you do, who you're with, who you meet. I think patience wins the game.
My question for you is, on your journey so far, what do you feel like has been a great piece of advice you've had from mentors? It's a new thing we're talking about here, the power and the importance of having mentors. Who's been a mentor in your life for you? And what do you think's been a lesson that they've shared with you that's carried on right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question for me because, I didn't honestly feel like I had a mentor most of my career and I guess as an entrepreneur. I would say at this point in my life, I look to my business partner in many ways, more on a personal basis as my mentor. The beard for the wisdom, exactly. He keeps me in check, so he's gonna, I need little words of affirmation sometimes, or he knows, okay, if he's saying this, I'm just gonna ignore him. But he's a really good sort of yin to the yang, and it makes us work well. And he kind of used this analogy when we started. He's like, look, I just want to be your caddy. If I can make you successful, we're both gonna be successful. And I really appreciate about them. I mean, there's about that him. There's this humility there that I don't always have. Because I want to kind of be on the forefront, and he's very comfortable being in that role. Because if he's not, that's a bad partnership, bad setup. Right now, I'm trying to get more involved with groups like YAC or Forbes Council's groups and other mentorships where I can give back. And I'm also, I think for a while I just thought, I don't need a mentor. I'm doing really well. The older I get, they say the older you get to realize, the more you realize you don't know a lot of things. So actually, the older I get, the more I'm kind of clinging on to mentors and people that have been through different experiences that I can learn from.
Well, what about the shift of being a father? I mean, it's not new to you. You've got 3 children now, but at 30 years old, you have 3 kids. But you said 5, 3, and 7 weeks.
Yes.
So what is that like, being an entrepreneur? Because you were saying, like, some people say, how do you do it? How do you juggle being a parent with, in your case, 3 kids and being an entrepreneur? 2 full-time jobs.
I mean, I feel like I've become a much more effective entrepreneur. I talk to a lot of people that there's no way, and I think that
like starting up 3 separate businesses.
Yeah, well, I never really thought about that. It just kind of happens, I guess, how you prioritize. I think the key is the pace. So people look at serial entrepreneur, 3 businesses, or a book coming out, but it's all about pace. I mean, so it might take time for those to fully come to fruition. But in many ways, I think having kids has been very good. I struggle with chronic anxiety disorder ever since I can remember. And in many ways, I felt like anxiety was sort of my edge from a business perspective. And I talked to a lot of other entrepreneurs that struggle with depression, anxiety, can't sleep. In many ways, my kids really helped with that issue in particular because it gave me a lot of meaning in my life. It gave me structure, and I was forced to shut the door and spend time with my kids because I didn't want to be a bad dad. I didn't want to be there but not there. And that's how I used to be. And I realized that it's just not sustainable. So even if it takes a little bit longer, I'm going to do it right this time because I have kids. And he's only 7 weeks old. Well, now I'm in LA, so I'm not seeing him for a week. But I'll come back, and he'll look like he's 3 months old, that kind of thing. So that's important.
Well, we were talking about mentors, and I think the most important mentor and role model is in any of our lives at that early age.
Sure. Yeah.
And for not everybody, it's not not all of us are blessed to have great parents or parents in general.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Robby to talk more about his company. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we connect a community of entrepreneurs. If you'd like to be a part of it, you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, or online at businessrockstars.com. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. We've got Robby Berthume joining us. He's the CEO and co-founder of Bullnbeard. Recap first your company, brother.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, sure. So Bullnbeard, essentially, we aim to be mavens, mentors, motivators, and matchmakers. And I think the crux of our business is the matchmaker part, but the areas that we spend the most time is on being mavens, motivators, and mentors. So we do that through content, through speaking, through throwing on events, introducing other people, providing value, building relationships, not necessarily with an ulterior motive, And I think you do that with essentially a focus that is very long term, and that's how we go about it. We go in believing, and that if it's the right person, if it's the right client, if it's the right opportunity, and some even if they're maybe not a C-level executive that's a typical buyer, people change, they grow into different careers, and so I think being nice really pays off. I think being loyal really pays off. I think that, you know, a lot of younger entrepreneurs, and certainly when I was getting started with my first company, it was hard sometimes to, I was in LA doing a lot of digital LA events with Kevin Winston, and he was putting on all these events, and I was going to the events trying to meet as many people, and it can be a little hard, you know, networking, and you're not really seeing tangible results. Is this moving the meter? Is this affecting my business? And I think that some of the success that we had, it was, you know, people that I would meet, build a relationship with, and then 2 years later, six-figure project, you know, would drop into our lap or whatever it might be.
But 2 years later.
But 2 years
most people
later.
aren't patient.
Yes, especially when you're in startup mode and everybody's grinding and hustling. So I think that, you know, starting Bullnbeard, we had a different perspective. We knew that, you know, from a runway perspective, it's really a relationship runway. It wasn't so much, you know, a financial runway. It was really, we've got to just get to know people. We've got to be there. We need to, you know, fly. We need to travel. We need to do what we need to do to build real relationships. I do a lot on social media, but I gotta go meet the people that I'm connecting with on social media, and they got to see the same guy.
So I want to throw a sometimes difficult question to answer, and that is, you know, in your business that you're in, there's not necessarily, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, anything that's like proprietary, anything that like other people can't do, or that they maybe even are doing already as their own business offer. So what makes you positioned as the preeminent option and choice as an industry leader, so that when a client looks at potential people, they go, it's a no-brainer, I got to choose Bullnbeard?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that in terms of sort of what makes us unique or what can't be replicated, not to say this in a brash, egotistical way, but they can't replicate me. They can't replicate my business partner.
So the people behind it.
So the people behind it in our business make a lot of sense. I think that they're, you know, as we grow, there's different ways to automate, to scale. There's platforms. There's sort of, you know, if you think of Match.com or Realtor.com, there's different ways of developing out the model. But our goal is really to maintain that personal touch. And I think to do that, you know, we don't want to grow so much just in terms of adding people to help that process. In terms of how I get to that position, how I've been getting to that position, it's a lot of podcasts, it's writing, it's doing pieces, you know, Forbes, Huffington Post, Matt, it's getting out there. It's really establishing a brand and a presence through our site and through my personal brand that really all feeds itself. And again, I think that that's something different. So if you take like a Gary Vee, you know, as an example, if somebody goes up to Gary Vee and says, hey, who built this mobile app, or who would you recommend for this? And he says, you know, I use this firm, or these are the guys who use. They're going to say, okay, well, I trust Gary Vee, and I'm going to do that. So I'm not quite to Gary Vee's level, and I'm not trying to be Gary Vee. I'm Robby Berthume, but I like that strategy, you know, and essentially just getting to know people and getting to the point
an agency,
where,
but building your personal brand around it.
Yes, the personal brand feeds the agency, and Bullnbeard, you know, I think as its brand, if you go to our website, it's not crystal clear what we do. There's some mystery, there's some intrigue, I think, to draw people in and you know, just get them curious. I don't want to sell everything on the site and tell them all of what we do, because it helps us stand out in this marketplace when people are like, you know, I want to look more into these guys. Like, what is different about them? So it's a slower way to grow.
I got you.
But we feel like it's a strong way to build a sustainable.
I love it. I mean, I think that the personal brand aspect of it is what's huge and separates people like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk away, because they have their agencies or they have their business services, but it's not, hey, we're going to teach you how to increase your sales. Hey, we are representing Tony Robbins. Hey, we're an agency, but we're representing Gary Vaynerchuk. Hey, we help you with your car dealership or with sales as well, but we're representing Grant Cardone. And when you hear the name, you go, oh, I know that guy. You're representing him.
It's credibility.
Okay, boom.
And it's inherited credibility, I think, with the match. I mean, that's where what it all comes down to is again, that trust aspect that you build over time.
I love that you brought that up. I want to know, though, specifically when you're working for companies, what do you feel like are, and I say this as a consultant myself, I know for the people I work with, here's the 1, 2, and 3 biggest struggles that they all have. I know this because they hire me to be the solution. So what are the 1 or 2 or 3 biggest struggles, frustrations, fears, problems that you come in and ultimately help solve for your clients?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. I mean, I think that, you know, first and foremost, I think in B2B purchasing behavior and decision making, risk is a big factor. And you know, the more that you're investing and the more that you're spending, whether it's advertising services, whether you're a well-funded startup and you know you need a technology player. I mean, it depends on the situation, but you're making an investment, and there's definitely risk there. Ad agencies frequently outsource, use other teams, use digital teams. But generally speaking, you know, their Rolodex only runs so thick, and they don't have a lot of time to be out there. And the other thing is that good talent changes, and they're at different places, and they're growing in their career, and suddenly they cost more. So we have to, I think, take a lot of time, you know, to be out there and to be keeping track of people to be able to plug them into the right services.
Okay. And so you're in that situation where you have an opportunity to potentially dramatically shift the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial trajectory of your children's life based on how you nurture them now and condition them.
Yep.
And so that's something that you're obviously aware of and you're working on. Let's talk about your business for a little bit.
Okay.
What's been like the hardest part about getting it started?
I mean, I think the hardest part with our business in particular and our business model is getting the snowball started. So it's you know, I have a shop.
That's what the hardest part always is. For the beginning entrepreneur, it's like, how do I
this is
start?
pure sort of a sales organization. So I co-founded a company, a 9-person shop out of Belgrade, Serbia, about 10 years ago. Spent a lot of time back and forth in Serbia. So it's fairly easy to come in and white label projects or do things that way, make money. It's not a long-term business model that we want to have. And so that's really kind of the challenge with our business. We talked to a lot of people like, oh, I love that model. It makes sense. And like, yeah, but you don't understand. It takes a couple years just in the beginning to get all those snowballs rolling. And I think particularly we had a lot of value when it comes to 6- and 7-figure deals or opportunities, because that's when you need somebody to provide counsel to, you know, not just bring an opportunity, but help sit at the table and get a deal done. And you know, I think in that way, certainly it takes a lot of time to build those relationships to where there's trust, where people are going to say, I find myself in between, you know, a buyer and a seller, and they're both telling me the truth, and I have to get them to basically break down the barriers, break down the brinkmanship, and come together. But that doesn't work if they don't trust me. I mean, so that's and that takes time. You can't buy that. You can't, you know, do an appearance on Business Rockstars and then suddenly everybody trusts you. It's an accumulation of hopefully, you know, wins and successes and keeping your word, and you know.
And on the note of habits and rituals, because I like that you answered what you were talking about for solving them. I want to bring it back to you though, because if you're the person that's ultimately getting paid to help solve problems, you have to continue to become a better value adder so that you can make more money, have more impact. So what are some habits and rituals that you feel like you've developed personally and professionally that help you be more, you know, effective with managing your time? You're a father of 3 kids, helping work with your business partners and your employees, helping manage all your clients and their issues. So I'm just naming a couple. What are some habits and rituals that you have?
I mean, I think, you know, a lot of it comes down to, I mean, everything from morning routines and meditation and, you know, drinking a glass of water first thing. I mean, there's a lot of personal routines, I think, to, you know,
some people are like scratching their head like, what?
Yeah,
I should be drinking a water?
I mean, I wake up and actually a good friend of mine told me this, Brian Smith, was real big on this. Wake up and drink water. First thing you do, just drink
water.
You
breathe out 2 liters of water if you sleep 8 hours on average.
There you go.
Because if you put your nose up to a mirror, and the moisture, it's moisture. So after 8 hours of breathing,
I tend to be dehydrated, or during the day, you know, I just don't drink enough water. So I start out with that. Meditation and prayer, and even something, my business partner and I, we pray every day at the office. And it's something that, you know, I think a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, they don't talk about as much. And in advertising, it's certainly its own industry and its own world. But in many ways, we built our business on faith and on, you know, prayer every day. And I think that really helps us from a habits perspective and from a growth perspective, not get overwhelmed, because at the end of the day, God's in control. I'm going to do the best I have with the time I have. And then at the end of the day, I need to go do that with my family, my kids, my wife. And wake up next day, do the same thing. And I kind of look at it, I think this is not an original analogy. I read it in a book and can't remember where it was, but I look at it as, you know, throwing the spear every day. And, you know, you're not trying to hit the target. You're just trying to get the spear a little bit closer. And next day, pick it up and throw it a little bit closer. And I think, you know, if you have that kind of patience,
every single time,
you're not, because it's not possible. And I think setting yourself up for some disappointment.
That's not practice.
Yeah.
I got you.
The other thing is, intentionally, the business model we have is not based on a large head count. It's not based on a lot of operational aspects. And so in that way, there's a lot of automation that's possible with our business. And essentially, as we grow, instead of saying yes more, we say no more. You know, we're choosing the opportunities where we know we can provide the most value, and the opportunity size is right for us from a business perspective, and we're going to be successful. And our business is based on referrals. So
I think when a business gets started, most people say yes to everything.
Yeah, they do.
And I don't know.
I get it. They feel like they, you know, but then opportunity comes.
Try.
I mean, and then suddenly a great opportunity comes, or they burn their staff out, they burn themselves out. That's fear, though. Again, it's fear. And, you know, I think a lot of it is you got to push the fear away, believe in yourself, believe that, you know, you can do it. You know, it might take some time, and there might be some bumps along the road, but I mean, that's life.
It's such simple advice, but the believing in yourself, like you just said, is probably one of the most important things I see that separates successful people from unsuccessful people. Somebody says they want to learn more about you, they want to follow you, maybe they even want to get in touch with you on your website. Where can they do that?
Yeah. So Bullnbeard, bullandbeard.com. People ask me how to spell that. I'm like, Bull and Beard. Bullnbeard.com is our company site. And then certainly for me, Facebook, facebook.com/Robby Berthume. Facebook.com/Berthume, Snapchat, Robby.Berthume, Instagram, Robby.Berthume.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. We connect a community of entrepreneurs. Maybe you'd like to be a part of it. You can join us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com.